At Sierra, you'll always find apparel, footwear, and gear for 20 to 60% less than department and specialty store prices. But right now, it's clearance time, so you can save even more on everything you need to get active and outside. Visit your local Sierra store today.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Unfiltered discussions. Unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hi, welcome. Thursday happy, I hope you have. English, how does it work? Nobody knows. Well, I mean, some people know. Let me tell you about what you will learn on tonight's program. Do you think that medieval medicine is all about leeches, superstition, and purging the demons? Gotta purge the demons. Well, think again. In approximately 10 minutes' time, we will explore how ancient health remedies are resurfacing in modern social media trends. That's right, things like lizard shampoo from the Dark Ages are making a reappearance on TikTok. And you'll find out that some of these trends actually have a basis in science, but not all of them. You don't need to use leeches after you lance your boil. So you'll get details of why medieval medicine wasn't quite as backward as you might have thought. After that, MBAs were meant to shape tomorrow's business leaders. But are they actually encouraging selfishness over purpose? Unethical business practices over ethical ones? Halfway through the hour, we will explore why some educators say it's time to stop business as usual at these programs. And perhaps time to start teaching character. That's just some of what we'll cover tonight. For now, let's jump in.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
And in chicken-based road rage attacks involving bear spray news, we go to Key West, Florida, where the chickens roam free, my friends. We are joined by foreign correspondent Tony Five, a specialist in all things bird-related news. He's really cornering the market on that. Tony, welcome in.
David, my specialism knows no boundaries. I love chickens. I love road rage. Put them together, you get chicken road rage, my friend.
I think we are the number one media outlet for ridiculous bird news. No other media outlet specializing in ridiculous bird news does quite as well as us.
Do you think there's any other outlets that even bother to promote such news?
No, but for not the reason you think. The reason you think is, well, what reason do you think?
The reason I think is because they've got professionalism, background, listeners.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is for the reason you think.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah, that is for the reason you thought, yeah. So, just to be clear, this was a thing that happened in Key West, which is, I believe, in the state of Florida.
It is, and believe it or not, it is quite west. It is the southernmost tip of the U.S., and it is a very strange place indeed. It's like a little island, but all these bridges connect it to the main state, so it's not like an isolated island.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very eccentric community. There's a very thriving gay community.
Wow.
It's got very eccentric architecture, but the one thing you got to know about Key West, other than the fact that Ernest Hemingway lived there, is that chickens roam free in the island, like feral chickens, and they are beloved. Like if you were to snatch one and cook it, first of all, you can get in trouble, like arrested.
Yep.
But second of all, the island would turn on you if you were caught doing so.
Now, is that part of Florida the same as the meme of the Florida man? These sort of people where they go absolutely, like the most weirdest things happen in the world? Because this is what this story is based on.
The Florida man knows no boundary when it comes to that state. As long as it happened in the state, it is Florida man. So by geography, the answer to your question is yes.
It started off as a childhood joke. A woman let the chicken cross the road. Why did she let the chicken cross the road, David?
Well, the chickens roam free there, so if they want to cross the roads, by God, they will be crossing the road.
I mean, that's the punchline that kills the audience because they're feral and they walk across the street because it's Key West. So there was a woman in Key West who obviously follows your rules and loves the chicken. She's sitting in her car. She sees this feral chicken come back. She lets it cross the street, David.
As you would do if you were a resident who beloved did the chickens there.
Beloved the chicken and loves the original, jokes, right? Why did the chicken cross the road? To let it go along its feral way.
Exactly. So here, a normal scene in this island is people yielding to the chickens. This woman yields to the chickens, and a driver behind her is not so kind.
No, she honked, which was something goose-related. Again, all poultry-related, my friend, all poultry-related. Sped past her and killed the chicken.
All right, so we got driver A, chicken lover, driver B, who's a road rager, speeding and quite sadly killing one of the feral chickens. But then what happens?
So driver A, the chicken lover, as we like to call her, chased her, absolutely chased this woman. It was like the Fast and the Furious poultry style, and blocked her in, and then tried to open the door. Got out of the car, tried to open the door, swearing, screaming, whatever. But David, this is where it takes a sinister turn, my friend.
And?
In her car, which I can only describe as just the oddest thing to carry in your car, unless you're going to tell me it's normal, she pulled out bear spray, essentially mace, right? But for bears.
I mean, it's not that strange to have pepper spray, but bear spray is probably taking it one step too far.
No. Pepper spray, I agree. Bear spray, I kind of disagree with that, yeah?
Yeah, we don't want to spay the bears.
No. And she just sprayed this woman who was obviously, there was nobody else in the car. I think her partner was in the car. She was on her way to pick up her kid, but sprayed her, which is essentially assault, right? I mean, it's a federal assault charge, and she was arrested.
Like I said, the people in Key West do not mess around when it comes to their chickens. If you kill one, I guess now we've learned you're getting bear sprayed. But yes, she was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery. Not clear on whether the road rager who killed the chicken was charged on this one.
No, I think it's still kind of in it. But she sort of, it's not meant to be used on people. So the fact that she just hit this woman with bear spray over a chicken crossing a road is, again, I always say this to you, David, when they end up in prison, what are they going to, when the prison bully comes up to them in the yard.
What are you in for?
What are you in for, guys? I sprayed a woman with bear spray. Why'd you do that? Did she kill your children? Well, she killed a chicken as I was driving home.
I love road rage. Well, I kind of hate and don't recommend to our listeners this, but I love road rage that gets responded to with even more road rage. Like this one person doesn't want to wait, so they speed ahead, maybe accidentally killing a chicken. And then in response, the person who witnesses the crime takes the road rage to the next level and brings bear spray to the fight. I like when people egg each other on.
So she brought bear spray to a chicken fight. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, Tony.
But the thing is, it just gets progressively worse. But the main aim of this story is it split people down the middle, because there's public outrage, as you say, because of, why on earth did this woman go around and kill this chicken? They're really protected. They really loved there. But then at the same time, people are like, well, why did this woman chase her? Is there any reason for road rage? I mean, are you ever in that much of a hurry somewhere that you chase the person and assault them?
I wonder what places on Earth have beloved local fauna that are kind of pests. Like, for example, in Key West, we have the chickens. I've heard in British Columbia and Victoria, UVic, there are just feral bunnies running around campus.
Wow.
And if anyone hurts them, everyone gets upset because they are beloved. I wonder if there's towns with monkeys or tarantulas that just roam free. They're kind of pests, but the locals love them.
Well, there's a couple of places. There's Monkey Island, and then there's a Spider Island somewhere, but I don't know whether they're habitated or habitable or habitated. But in the UK, we have swans, right?
Yes.
Which are roaming free, and they belong to the crown. So every swan belongs to the king. No, nobody owns a swan except the king. And if you hurt a swan, that could be considered a crime.
Does that really? I feel like that's an old tale, basically.
No, I'm pretty sure it's true. Google it, baby.
All right. The swans might well be owned by the British royal family, and who better to know that than foreign correspondent Tony Five? I suppose in Turkey, in Istanbul, people love cats. Neighborhoods feed feral cats, and they are beloved like home pets, even though they live in the wild.
Yes. It's very strange. So some Eastern European countries, and again, stuff you can go to Romania, you can go to Bulgaria, the cats just roam free. And they just find it normal. They don't own cats, but they feed the cats. They don't name them. They just call them cat.
Here we are, cornering the market in stupid bird-related news here with foreign correspondent Tony Five. Tony, thanks for being here. We'll have you back later in the show.
I can't wait, my friend.
To you, listener, Let me tell you quickly, if you like what you hear, but you're not going to be with us the whole night, or you'd like to stream the last show as a podcast, fear not, the show is available as a podcast. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza, that's .pizza, not .com in your web browser, and there you can find out more details, including how to subscribe. There, that was quick. Up next, if I told you that medieval monks were the original wellness influencers, much like ones on TikTok today, would you believe me? Coming up after a short break, the strange world of dark age medicine, why lizard shampoo, rose oil, and other weird stuff is making a comeback.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority is using Google AI to create smarter tolling systems and improve traffic flow for Texans. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American Innovation.
The human algorithm, where emotional inputs create unexpected outputs. The Last Show with David Cooper.
What can medieval medicine teach us about current social media trends? Surprisingly, quite a bit, it turns out. Well, new research reveals that people in the so-called Dark Ages were a lot more scientifically curious and obsessed with wellness trends than you'd think. And some of their health hacks look oddly familiar to TikTok trends today. I'm here with someone who's researched this. She's a history professor at Binghamton University in New York. Her name is Dr. Meg Leja. Meg, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I always think of medicine in like the medieval days as super primitive. What kind of medical concerns did folks in that era actually have?
Well, I mean, they have these long lists of cures. So if you have pain in your head, pain in your eye, they'll list every body part, give you some kind of remedy to help with that. They also are looking for some kind of certainty in a, fairly unpredictable world, much more unpredictable than ours. So find a lot of prognostic devices that will actually tell you, are you going to live or are you going to die when you fall ill? Might seem fatalistic to us, but I think for them it might have provided a kind of sense of security in some ways.
Would we consider these trends, what they were doing, like junk medicine by today's standards? Or were some of them, did they actually have kernels of truth or kernels that would actually be helpful?
Yeah, so maybe a bit of both. There's definitely some weird stuff. I mean, there's a whole text that will tell you about how if you decapitate a vulture with a reed, you can use various different body parts to, heal your gallbladder or drive away demons. But there are definitely other types of cures that, modern medicine would say have a lot of scientific basis behind them. So, pounding up willow bark, using that as a pain reliever, applying rose oil to your forehead, mixed with peach stones in this case. But, rose oil, a study has suggested, might help with certain types of migraine pain. So, people were certainly trying to observe the natural world, experiment with it, jot down notes about things that worked. But to us, there's a lot of remedies that are a bit bizarre.
And how did these remedies get taught or passed around? I'm imagining like a trend in these days might have been a town crier in the town square screaming it out and then everyone in the village talking about it. Were a lot of people engaging in these remedies?
That is a great question. So unfortunately, because we have no video recordings, we don't know about the town crier. But there must have been a system of apprenticeship, because a lot of the remedies come down to us without tons of instructions. For example, they don't tell you amounts. They don't often tell you how to prepare them. So there must have been someone working alongside to kind of guide you. But this is a big takeaway from the research that I've just conducted with this international team, because we've doubled the number of manuscripts that are known to us surviving before the year 1000, this suggests that a lot more people were reading and engaging with medicine, even in little ways than previously thought. So, for example, a text on grammar might have a little snippet of a medical cure copied in the margins. This shows us that medicine was something on people's minds, just like you might jot down kind of notes of things to do to yourself around the house. People were thinking about medicine, and when they had extra space, they would be kind of copying down these cures, these prognostics, these regimens, wherever they could.
So let's talk about some of these medieval remedies that are resurfacing on places like TikToks. For example, rose oil for headaches. Are these accidentally being discovered? Are people making them up now? Or are they looking into our past and rebranding it as current trends?
Yeah, I kind of go with that last point. There's this search for alternative medicine, but I guess part of my point is that a lot of these alternatives have actually been around for thousands of years. And now, they are being used in this kind of pushback a little bit against modern, pharmaceutical medicine. That's not how people in the early Middle Ages would have thought about it. These remedies weren't a pushback against some kind of other medicine. They were the most rational, scientific medicine of the day. So it's a different context, but many of these cures that are being promoted on TikTok, they're not new by any means. They're not newly discovered. These medieval monks were copying them in manuscripts in the 9th century.
During the medieval days, some of these remedies were for health and also for kind of getting rid of demons. Today, we see kind of faith-based approaches and science-based approaches as different. Back then, were they kind of the same thing?
This is so important. I mean, now often people tend to think, a lot of students come to my classes and they'll say things like, well, the church was so opposed to medicine, and this could not be less true in the early Middle Ages, when really so much of medical practice, medical discovery is taking place within a religious environment. So monasteries are actually hubs for medicine. It's where they're copying medical texts. It's where they're performing bloodletting, they're purging. There are doctors living there. There are doctors training there. They're disseminating. So doctors are often going to the court from monasteries. Cures against demons and cures for a headache weren't necessarily seen as divergent things. They were both dealing with your health in sum, right, in total. So holistic health was very much a priority in the Middle Ages.
I want to move to surprising or delightfully bizarre remedies that would have been used in the medieval days. Did you come across any weird ones while compiling a catalog? Bonus points if it involves lizards.
Yeah, well, so a colleague of mine is very keen on this lizard shampoo, which promises you luscious flowing hair. I don't know, I did wash my hair this morning. I'm not going to tell you.
Did you use lizard shampoo?
That's my own beauty secret, I'm afraid. But what you got to do is you got to get some, oil, some vinegar. You got to rub it on your scalp, and then you've got to mix it with the ashes of a burnt green lizard. So no, I guess I should say I did not do this because I would never do that to a lizard in my garden. But in the Middle Ages, they think that this, if you can find a kind of, if you can capture a creature like a vulture or a lizard, and you can perform certain feats with it, that's kind of going to up the potency of whatever the cure is potentially.
I guess lizard welfare wasn't top of mind back then. Here's something. We often call it the Dark Ages, but you might suggest that it was a rich period in curiosity and medical experimentation. Why do we kind of label that as a very ignorant time?
Well, I mean, in many ways, the term Dark Ages could just be used to explain the fact that we have very few sources that survive. And this is true. The end of the Roman Empire in the 5th century, then we're moving into several centuries where we don't have a huge record base. There's a lot that we don't know about how people lived. But this is also, as you referenced earlier, right, been associated with a time in which, people were religious and superstitious and they didn't believe in science. And so in that sense, it often has this stereotype, of dark in terms of stupid and backward. And that is really inaccurate. I mean, people are very into, if we look at the body, again, observing. They look at the tides, they see that the moon has an effect on the waters, and they think, the moon must have a similar effect on the waters in our bodies, right? That's why when we bloodlet, we have to pay attention to the moon. If you glance at a text at first, you think, this is superstitious. What are they doing about the moon? But really, this is very much based in scientific reasoning for them. And, we shouldn't deride them for it.
Do you think modern medicine could learn anything from the mindset of that time? Could wellness trends that have some basis in science, the practices that actually work, could these trends actually benefit from looking at this time?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of research on the placebo effect, is showing just the importance of kind of a healer-patient relationship, of really listening, of kind of responding to people's own interpretations of their body. So certainly I think, the way in which in the early Middle Ages, this was, again, a holistic type of medicine that really thought about emotional and physical well-being together, that thought about routines, that, thought about the meaning of illness, that made it part of a whole, of your life, of a life story, that has a lot to teach us today.
Well, Meg, thanks for joining me. I'm going to step out of here and grab some lizards for a second, unrelated to this interview. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Such a pleasure to talk with you.
Dr. Meg Leja is a history professor at Binghamton University in New York. MBA programs at business schools were designed to shape the leaders of tomorrow, right? But some would say they're preparing students to prioritize success at any cost, including the well-being of employees at organizations. After the break, we'll dive into why some educators believe it's time to rethink business school. Should they focus not just on credentials, but on character, ethics, and purpose? Details in just a minute.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Not all meals are created equal. For instance, breakfast has the spicy egg McMuffin for a limited time, and lunch doesn't. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Taste the forbidden fruit of knowledge. The last show with David Cooper.
Today's MBA programs promise success, but at what cost? As students demand purpose, value, and real-world relevance, some educators say it's time to rebuild business education around one's character, not just have these programs about climbing the corporate ladder. So what kind of leaders should we be shaping today for the future? That is what we'll discuss with Dr. Andrew Hoffman, a professor of sustainable enterprise at Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. Andy, welcome in.
Well, it's good to be here, David.
So character formation in the context of business education, how is this different than just teaching students, ethics?
Well, typically the way that's done is you take an ethics course and you drop it into a curriculum that steers them in a different direction. So be nice to people, there's that course, and then go out and just focus on the shareholder, try and minimize the role of government, try and externalize all your costs. It just won't work. So what I'm trying to argue is that we got to embed it with what David Brooks calls a coherent moral culture. It all has to fit together.
Interesting. Coherent moral culture. Are you saying that students are taught contradictory things at business school? They're taught be nice in one class and then be aggressive in the other?
Absolutely. That's exactly what's happening. In fact, there's a professor at the University of Chicago who argued that when we do that with ethics, he wrote an article in Bloomberg saying, do business schools incubate criminals? Making that point that you have this ethics course, students know I just got to get through it and I got to get back to my, more cutthroat ideas of how business is supposed to work.
At the risk of derailing, I got to ask the question, do business schools incubate criminals?
I wouldn't say that. I think that he was trying, that was clickbait, but do we create people that are deficient in a moral compass? There was a study done in the National Bureau of Economic Research in 2022, very interesting. They looked at 9,000 companies. They separated those that run by people who went to business school and those that weren't. Between the two samples, over 5 years, no difference in revenues and profits. But in the companies run by business students or people who went to business school, labor wages went down 6%. In the other sample, they shared their profits with workers. So we're creating people that focus on efficiency. A colleague of mine says we worship at the altar of efficiency, irrespective of what that means for people's lives or, the long-term success of the business.
I'm looking at like McKinsey. I've seen a lot of profiles on them about these MBAs who go in there, they act as consultants for other companies, they lay everyone off, they create terrible morale. Is this the kind of thing you're thinking of?
Yeah, and I think another example could be Boeing. I mean, Boeing was a company that made high-quality products. And then they merged with McDonnell Douglas. They started focusing on quarterly returns. They started outsourcing a lot of manufacturing. The culture became fairly toxic, and planes started to fail. And in a damning indictment, the CEO of Emirates Airlines, one of their major customers, when they were looking for a new CEO, said, I don't want to see another MBA in that position. I want to see an engineer who knows how to build planes.
I'm just going to add the word allegedly into this conversation because I don't want to get sued. Okay, let's get back on track. If you just say allegedly, you can't get in trouble in the media. That's what someone taught me. Now, rethinking this, how can we create students that are going to be great business leaders in today's like AI dominated market and all this kind of stuff that's different than the way we train students now?
Well, one thing that I'm trying to push is, a couple of things. One, we need to teach students, get down to basics of what is capitalism, what is the market, how does it work, and to teach them to be stewards of the market, that to have some kind of role and responsibility in making sure that capitalism works properly for all. And when we say make money for the shareholder, it's always one kind of shareholder, that very short-term focused, I want the money tomorrow, and I don't care if the company dies the next day. So we need to do that. And I also really want to bring back the notion of what I'm calling management as a calling, to really bring back the idea that originally business schools were founded on the idea of training business leaders in the spirit we train doctors to serve society. Let's bring that back. And the good news is I think a lot of our students are increasingly looking for that kind of education.
So I'll give you a magic wand and let you redesign an MBA from scratch. What would stay? What would go? What would it look like?
Well, to begin with, I'd get rid of the rankings. I think the rankings stifle innovation. Everyone's chasing the same metrics. We should have more diversity in what a business school looks like. And then I'd start to break down the curriculum as it is right now and start to reform it, not just in these individual course blocks, but also think about short-term programs, longer-term programs, try and infuse character within the different courses that we have. Try and bring issues around, what students care about, or what society needs. How do we care about the environment? How do we make sure that income inequality doesn't grow to the epic proportions it is right now? How do we serve everybody and make us an economy that is more balanced and more fair?
I am here with Dr. Andrew Hoffman, who does work at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. Is there an irony, Andy, in you working in a business school and doing research into rethinking how they should function?
Oh, not at all. I think that's what we should do. That's important. I mean, if I didn't care about the institution, I just collect my paycheck and go home. But when you speak out against an institution, whether it's academia or the church or the government, it means you care enough to try and fix it. And so I care enough to want to fix it.
Is there a push by incoming students to kind of rethink purpose as it comes to business leadership? And if so, do you think this is a phase, or do you think this is an important thing to introduce?
I do think there's a push from students. I had a student come into my office one time, and she said she felt like her values were under attack every time she walked into the building.
Wow.
And she's not alone. And not just at Ross, but at other business schools, students are starting to push back and say, you know what, I'm not fully buying this argument. I mean, embedded within the business curriculum is the idea that people are inherently selfish, that I am trying to get mine, you are trying to get yours. That's the way the world works. A lot of students are coming and saying, that's not the way my world works. Let me give you an example. Every business student is taught you have to make the business case to do anything. Is that true? Always. So let's say you become the CEO and find out that women are paid 85 cents on the dollar of men. Are you only going to fix it if you make more money? Or are you going to fix it because for crying out loud, it's the right thing to do? And I think a lot of students are falling back on that second mode.
To a wider comment there, it seems like companies only fix these things when it either makes them look bad or it makes them lose money. And that's not really why we should be doing things as business leaders.
I mean, business has to make money. I'm not saying that money's not important, and I'm not saying that a business should do things to lose money. But if it's always just more money, squeezing every dollar out of efficiency, which again, it goes to a small number of people. When labor wages go down, someone got that money. And so it's really just thinking about the organization in a more balanced way. Peter Drucker used to say the purpose of the corporation is to identify and serve a market, to give what people want. We need to get back to that, a care of practice of craft.
If we judged MBA programs not by salaries, but by how kind, wise, or socially responsible their alumni were, how do you think the rankings would be for various schools?
Well, they'd be very different, and I'd add one more piece to it. Let's track people 5, 10, 15, 20 years out from their career rather than just when they leave and how much money they make. I think that schools would look very different if those were the metrics.
And how do you think they would look?
They'd start to think about the long-term health of their graduates. Like right now, business schools steer people largely towards finance and consulting. Are they going to be happy there? Are they going to find meaning there? That's not really our concern. And if we start to focus and be more attentive to the individual student, and actually, you brought up AI. I think AI creates an opportunity there because if AI is just going to replace our knowledge delivery, fine. But the idea of character delivery, that requires one-on-one, that requires more relational engagement that AI can't do.
Doing a lot of thinking in the space of redesigning MBA programs. Any advice to students, maybe fresh, undergraduates who've come out and are thinking about attending?
Well, I have three thoughts. One, business schools are broken. Face that. Number two, go anyway, because the power you have within business to make a difference in the world is enormous. And to live a happy and successful life, I mean, I'm not saying money's not important, but three, take control of your education. Don't just take it as a given and think you got the education you get. You're going to get dropped into a resource-rich environment, make the use of all the resources, not just in the business school, but all the schools within the university.
Andy, thanks for the chat.
Oh, it was a pleasure, David. Thank you.
Dr. Andrew Hoffman is a professor of sustainable enterprise at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. Coming up after the break, have you ever wanted to give your past self advice? Well, we can't do that on the show, but we can give our future selves advice from yesterday by recording advice yesterday and playing it today. It's all very confusing and insightful, probably. If you want to give yourself advice from yesterday, today, call the number coming up now.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, or maybe from today for tomorrow. If you're confused, you're not alone. This is what happens on the last show with David Cooper and Tony Five.
Oh my God. It's the least confusing time of the evening. It's advice from your yesterday self for today from tomorrow, probably, or something like that. Tony Five, welcome in.
David, wonderful to see you. We won't discuss the fact that we spent 2 minutes with you just singing notes to me before we went on air.
We got to do something during the commercial break. I was showing off that I can sing my musical intervals.
I'd love to listen to the commercial breaks. But carry on.
We would hope the listener would too.
Yeah. And buy stuff, people. If you are listening to the show, buy whatever they're selling.
Whatever's being sold, buy it. We need to send our non-existent children through college. Tony, we get a lot of complaints that what we do during advice from your yesterday's self for today.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it's called.
It's fine.
We get a lot of complaints that people don't understand it, and it's very simple. Our past selves record advice. We play that advice today, and we see if we followed our advice or at least comment on it.
Mate, clear as mud.
Clear as mud. And if anyone has advice for themselves for tomorrow, call now. The number 1-888-505-6644.
And if you don't know how to use a phone, if you could just email us at tony@lastshow.pizza or david@lastshow.pizza. We don't know how to use email, so it doesn't really matter. But just email anyway.
And if you don't know how to use the phone or email, just fly to London, go to London Street and start shouting, Tony, Tony, Tony. And there you'll be.
Yeah, I live at number 1, London Street, London, England.
United Kingdom.
United Kingdom. I always forget that because obviously we are a kingdom and united, David.
All right, let's get to the meat of this. Tony has some advice from his yesterday's self for today.
Good day, dear boy. Good day. My advice for tomorrow, for today, for yesterday, recorded today, for yesterday and tomorrow is nightmares are not real. I had a really awful nightmare and it's taken me about 3-4 hours to get over it. It was really horrible. It was about a family member and things that were out of my control. And as much as I knew it was not real, my God, it really shook me up. And so that's calm. So from one nightmare to another. Hello, David, over to you.
Tony, what happened?
Oh, my God, mate, a couple of nights ago, I had this horrific dream. And it was like, have you ever had the dreams where they're terrifying, but they're so realistic? It wasn't like monsters or anything like that. It was just an average day, like in my workplace, and speaking to my mom, speaking to you, and speaking to colleagues. But I just felt this unbelievable dread that, you know, someone had fallen out with me and I'd had an accident, and you know, there was a lot of issues, which I always talk about, the mortality of my mum, that I just worry about, and like her needing CPR, and I didn't know how to do CPR, and I was asking people to do CPR, and it just absolutely threw me, and I woke up in like a cold sweat, and I just felt awful. And like, I guess, you know, people that listen to this late at night, you know, they can if they can't sleep or they wake up with this sort of thing, I just wonder how people deal with it, because I'm still, you know, shaking. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, even though it happened however long ago, I'm still like can feel it, you know?
Now, your mom fell ill. Did she pass, or she was just in a crisis and then you woke up in a cold sweat?
No, it kind of just woke up, and it shifted from that to doing like being in an office and having an argument with somebody who works in the office, someone in payroll, where they hadn't processed my pay. And then it shifted from that to like my dog Frank sort of just walking around, which was like normal. And then it shifted to me doing a radio show with you and talk to people. And then it sort of bounced from thing to thing.
It was like your day flashing before you, but with very stressful elements.
Yeah, and also it was, each one, like you said, was stressful, but each one was like normal. It was like normal going shopping, normal sort of on the air with you, normal things.
But you just mentioned CPR, not knowing CPR.
Yeah, but I know how to do CPR.
Okay, so you helped your mom.
I helped my mum, but in the dream, I didn't know how to do CPR, and I was processing it. I think you've got to do CPR to the sound of like Staying Alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Have you heard that thing before?
I have, yeah. I know the Bee Gees.
Yeah, so, well, it wasn't the Bee Gees, it was the Beatles, but anyway. And you've got to kind of do it to tune, but I wasn't good, and then I did it too hard, and I broke her ribs, and it was just awful, and I woke up.
You gotta slow down, you know? I think that's what this dream is. You have a million things swirling around in your head, stressful and not stressful at any given minute.
Absolutely. Like, even talking about it, I'm sweating, David. Look at me next to you. Oh, it was just so much. And I think, I think one of the things I wanted to deal with in therapy, because I started therapy.
Yeah, I was about to say, my therapist doesn't do this, but my girlfriend Miranda's does. Whenever Miranda mentions that she had a dream, the therapist goes for the notebook. Therapists love dreams. And I can tell you a little bit about what mine has always said, but please continue.
Okay. Well, I think, that was it really. I was going to address this to my therapist because he's new with me, and maybe see like what they say, if they've got any, not really interpretation. Is that the right word, interpretation? But kind of what it signifies, I guess.
My current shrink doesn't do this, but my beloved former shrink, she would always say, I'm every character in the dream. So if I get in a fight with a friend because they behave badly, I am that friend. You know, like those bad qualities I worry about having myself. I don't know how this applies to you, but like, you're your mom in the dream. You're the person in payroll. You are every character in your dream. And so you have to look at it from that lens, is what she would always say.
Good Lord, I've never ever thought of it like that. That's fascinating. So you always assume that you're you in your dream. But like you said, if you play every character, I suppose like in a Shakespeare play, you're everyone with different lines and different worries and different things.
They're all manifestations of like internal, subconscious worries that you have. So like this inability to do CPR and being helpless, like you're helpless. What are you worried about being helpless about? It's not so much about your mom.
No, it was just sort of characterized as her, I guess.
All right. Well, Tony, I got to admit, I kind of cheated for today's advice because yesterday I listened to your advice from yesterday and did my advice yesterday for today. I apologize.
Hi,
Hi, David. Your advice today comes in two parts. For advice for tomorrow from today, from yesterday. This is your yesterday self speaking to you now. It should be straightforward. Fine, you listened to Tony's advice that he sent you beforehand. You cheated. But you also had a nightmare the other day. You dreamt that you slept through this show and there was just dead air for 2 hours and you freaked out in your dream and you woke up, and ever since you've been worrying that you're not reliable, that you won't show up on time, which is very important in radio, and I think important to a lot of people in their jobs. So your advice is, your greatest fear is not showing up, but that propels you into being someone who does show up on time. I know I just said I'd give you the advice. I didn't. Here it is. You worry too much.
Wow.
You don't need to worry. You're here now, and you've always shown up on time. Does that make sense? I'm not sure it did. And I don't know why I said this was in two parts. That's just one part. I'm the same as you. I'm worried too much all the time, and it eats into my dreams.
That's so strange. But are you and the audience?
I guess I'm me and I'm me not. There was just me not showing up for the show. Maybe I am the audience. Maybe I'm the one watching me disappointed that I might not ever show up. I don't know. I just, the idea of like missing a show is insane to me. You cannot do that in radio. And the fact that I did it in my dream, I was like, I can't believe I let this happen. And then I woke up feeling like I was someone who did let it happen.
Yeah, you could be you letting yourself down, and you could also be the audience being let down.
Would they be let down though?
Not really. I was pushing there. There is nobody that cares.
Tony Five, our foreign correspondent in London, England. Tony, what a pleasure it was having you.
Thank you very much, my friend. Bye-bye.
Coming up next, it'll be time for Technology Time, the most redundantly named look at the tech industry in all of broadcasting. We will cover a lawsuit between Facebook's shareholders, well, I guess they're Meta's shareholders, against Mark Zuckerberg and other board members. Remember that 2018 case? The Cambridge Analytica scandal where the FTC fined Facebook $5 billion for, leaking your data and putting it in bad actors' hands? Well, shareholders of the company are now trying to hold executives personally responsible. Details on the other side of the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The last show with David Cooper.
It's how to get sued by your shareholders for $8 billion in one easy step on It's Time for Technology Time with Carmi Levy, tech expert. Carmi, ooh, you're here. Welcome. You look nice.
I wore the happy shirt today, because we all need an excuse to smile. And for me, that comes from my clothes.
And just because radio's a visual medium, Carmi is wearing, it's not like a Hawaiian shirt, but it's Hawaiian shirt adjacent. It's got fun stuff on it.
Yeah, it's kind of Disney-esque themed, and I'm the last person to shill for Disney, but I can put on most years when the occasion calls for it, and I think today is one of those days. It's gray, it's humid, it's depressing. Wear fun clothes. That's my answer.
So, completely related to your shirt, why are Meta Platforms shareholders binding together and suing Mark Zuckerberg for not $8 trillion, but $8 billion, which is still a lot of money, but maybe not that much for Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, I think he has that in his back left pocket, but they're still ticked off about Cambridge Analytica. Remember, this goes back to 2018 when Meta with a political research company, they partnered with them called Cambridge Analytica, based in the UK, and they ended up harvesting huge amounts of data from something like 87 million Facebook users, most of them without their permission, from a survey that was it was just supposed to collect information for the survey. It ended up collecting information from the people who were in their network network who never consented to be in the survey in the first place. And so it was a huge privacy scandal. It was probably or easily the biggest privacy issue or headline of the social media era. And the company was ultimately fined $5 billion by the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. for violating privacy law. So a bunch of investors have gotten together, and now they're suing not Meta, the company, but they're suing Mark Zuckerberg and a whole bunch of his people, people who were on the board at the time. So that would include Mark Anderson. It includes Sheryl Sandberg, who's the chief operating officer, Peter Thiel, who was obviously a huge player. He co-founded Palantir Technologies, Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix. And they're saying basically, you caused the company to lose this huge amount of money in fines and in reputation. You cost us because we're shareholders. Now we're coming after you. And this is an interesting case because if they win, it could be the biggest case where shareholders proved director malfeasance. In other words, the directors did not do their job and they did so maliciously. This is really a case to watch, and it'll be fun to see sort of who gets called up to the stand and what they say.
It's kind of interesting that a company, well, allegedly, a board of directors messes up a regulatory body, in this case, the FTC, but I suppose it could be the SEC or any other country's government, sues that company or fines that company. They lose billions. And then the shareholders are like, it's your fault. And then they get kind of like double billed for the misconduct. On the one hand, they got to pay the massive fines. And then on the other hand, they got to pay the shareholders for causing the massive fines. This could set like a huge precedence. And the American government is not shy in cases of fining these big behemoth companies billions for misconduct.
They're not. I remember Boeing with the 737s that kept falling out of the sky because of the MCAS, the 737 Maxes. They were ultimately, a bunch of former board members of Boeing, they settled a similar case. It's called breach of oversight for about $237 million in 2021 over those accidents. And so if this case goes to $8 billion, it'll be even bigger than that. And I think the Boeing case kind of blew the doors open. It put directors on notice saying, you have a responsibility. The company needs to behave in a certain way that holds the interests of its shareholders and its stakeholders in sort of safety, that it sort of does right by them. And if you don't do right by them, it's going to cost you. And so I think the Boeing case was the precedent. This one is going to move it to the next level. And I think directors on other tech companies and other companies in general are going to be put on notice. You're being watched, and if you don't do the right thing, it's going to cost you.
When you hear about these big settlements, for example, the Boeing one that was just under $240 million, you hear this little bit of text at the end of the settlement where it says the Boeing directors did not admit wrongdoing. I often wonder if, as part of the settlements, these companies negotiate paying a little more so that they don't have to admit guilt. And now that might be an important thing, right? If you get fined by a regulatory body or by a government commission, and you don't admit wrongdoing as part of paying that fine, it doesn't expose you as much to liability from shareholders. Now, can they just say it was your fault anyway and will a court award these shareholders money? Maybe. But I've always found that interesting. Like, why do companies, after being fined for doing something egregious, in that statement say that we admit no wrongdoing? And I guess here's a reason why they might do that.
Exactly. And I think legally it also slams the door on future legal action. It makes it a lot harder for other plaintiffs to go after the same company for similar reasons, because in this case, they did not admit wrongdoing. If they did admit wrongdoing, it would almost be like an invitation for others to kind of dive in and pile on. And so what it does, it limits it to one big legal action. They pay the money, they shrug their shoulders, they walk away, and everyone goes back to their life. Again, this is more of a legal thing than anything else, but I think what it does is it limits the long-term liability for all concerned, and it allows them to go back to, it allows the plaintiffs to go back to their lives, take the money and run. It allows the defendant to write a check and continue on as it has before.
I mean, it's an attempt to do so. No one pays $240 million for no reason.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. But
But
I guess it's fire that you're going to have to imagine because you can't actually see it. And so I think it strikes a balance. Obviously, if you're another plaintiff who wasn't part of the original case, you feel ripped off because then you lose your opportunity. You could, of course, hire a lawyer and give it a try, but it's a much steeper hill to climb when they don't admit liability as a result of the first case. It makes it a much harder case to prove subsequently.
Let's go to this next story. I think one of Google's biggest threats is OpenAI with their ChatGPT product. And of course, Google has a fairly good market share in the web browser space with Google Chrome. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is going to release a web browser to compete with Google Chrome. I imagine it'll have all sorts of fancy AI-enabled features. Is this a product that you're excited about, or do you think that won't eat into Google Chrome's market share?
I think we're on the verge of a major shift in how the internet works, and I think AI-powered browsers or AI browsers are the way that's going to happen. I think OpenAI introducing an AI browser to challenge Google with its Chrome browser, I think it's a massive inflection point in the history of technology. And if I'm Google, I'm watching this really closely because the way we use the internet is going to be very different. Right now, when you open up a browser, you use it to open up a bunch of different tabs, visit individual websites, navigate them manually. You're still controlling the entire process, and it's a very manual, non-integrated process. Whereas an AI browser, and again, we're still seeing the early versions of it. Perplexity introduced something earlier this month called Comet that promises the same thing. These are what are known as agentic AI, where instead of you doing all of the work, the agent, the AI-powered agent, does it for you. So instead of opening up, say, if you want to plan a trip, you would open up an airline site, you would open up a hotel site, you would open up a rental car site, and book each one of those on your own. Whereas in the case of an AI browser, you would tell the AI browser, book me this trip. Here are the terms that I want you to follow. And then it goes ahead and does it for you, almost like a technological travel agent. And so that's really the promise of this. And of course, it means that the way the internet is funded, sort of, you search for things and then ads are served up in relation to the links and the results that come back. That's how Google became the giant that it is. That threatens Google's very business model. And so Google is probably the most significant company that's threatened by this. And OpenAI is going for the jugular. It's already got us using ChatGPT to get answers instead of Google. Why not add a browser so you can control the entire process end to end and cut Google out of the equation completely?
I mean, Google unseated Firefox, which unseated Internet Explorer, which unseated Netscape Navigator. It could happen to them at any time. Mm-hmm. Also, I got to say, as you say the word agentic, I'm like, why does AI have to create a new word for everything?
Always a new word, David.
When we come back with Carmi Levy on It's Time for Technology Time, we will look at, have you got a weird text message from an unknown number pretending like it knew you? That might have been a smishing scam, and we'll tell you what they are and why to avoid them with Carmi Levy in a moment.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, faucets, vanities, doors, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through July 18th. Not a member? Join My Lowe's Pro Rewards for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
The last show with David Cooper. Procrastinate your life away with us.
We are here with Carmi Levy on It's Time for Technology Time. Carmi and I smish often. By that I mean we try to avoid smishing scams. What are they, and where does AI come into play? Bots trying to rip you off, that is what we'll find out. Carmi, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, David. Thanks for having me.
These weird texts that I seem to be getting, like, hey, Rebecca, are you awake? Or like, did you get the memo? Or I'm like, I get these weird, oddly familiar texts, and I assume they're just spam. I don't respond to them. I often wonder what would happen if I did, and even if there was a human behind them. Maybe it would be a bot responding to me. So to that end, what is a smishing scam?
So smishing is an evolution of a threat, a cyber threat that we've been experiencing for years. So we all know what phishing is, and that's an email message that you receive that it's designed to fool you into thinking it's coming from a legitimate source. Maybe your bank, maybe your employer, maybe a friend, maybe a delivery service. And usually there's a link in there and they want you to click on that link. Of course, as soon as you click on that link, you're in trouble. So what smishing is it's essentially the same thing, but it is based on text messaging or short message service, SMS, hence the word smishing. And so what it does is you get a text message, and it could be, hey, are you still up? Or, why didn't you call me back?
Did you get those sexy photos? That was actually just me sending that to you, Carmi. So that's something else. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Okay. All right. Good. Thanks for letting me know. I'll double check that afterward. But then they can take on that form as well. And of course, if you answer in any form, what you're doing is you're confirming that your account is actually live. And which, of course, we don't want that. It signals to whoever's trying to attack you that, in fact, you are a viable target. And so we are seeing warnings that smishing as an attack type, as an attack vector, is going up significantly. Here in Canada, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre issued a warning last week saying that they are seeing a major uptick in these kinds of attacks. And they're saying that the attackers are using new technologies that allow them to scale up their activities. They're calling them they're coordinating bulk attacks. So it lets them, instead of sending it out to just one person, they can send it out to thousands or even more. And they're becoming more sophisticated. In many cases, the number spoofs a number that you might be familiar with. It might look like it's coming from your friend or your bank. And it's becoming harder to tell real from not real, which makes it easier to believe, oh yeah, I know that company, I know that person, click, and then you're done. So the warning is if you get a text message that you're not expecting, assume that it's fraudulent right from the start, and have it prove otherwise before you choose to engage with it. As long as you don't engage with a smishing message or by extension a phishing message, you're fine. You will not suffer. You can ignore it. You can mark it as spam, and then you can go on with your day. It's the instant that you either answer it or tap or click on a link, that's when you're about to have a bad day.
So that message that I didn't send you at 2 a.m. asking you up, Carmi, that was someone pretending to be me. And if you do engage with these messages and then they immediately send you a link, like read this, or, oh, Bobby, I meant to send you this. And even if they know your name, like don't click the link if it looks fishy. Maybe don't even click the link if it doesn't look fishy.
Don't ever click links, period. And that's what I just don't engage. And like, for example, if it comes from my bank and it says, hey, we've detected fraud on your account, click here and the fraud detection team will fix it for you. My first thing is I just bail out of that message completely. And I'll contact my bank directly and I'll sign in, using a separate device and a separate app. I will sign in to my account and make sure that, oh yeah, there is no strange activity. They're lying to me. And that's the scary thing, is increasingly it does look personal. So they will use your name. Hey, David, right? And they might know your address. They might know your employment status. They might know all sorts of other information about you. I once got a text message that had my wife's name in it, which was kind of jarring. But in fact, so they're pulling information. They're scraping it from social media. They're also scraping it from data that is released or stolen in major data breaches. And so then they use artificial intelligence to kind of put it all together. And then they create very personalized messages. And of course, the more personalized the message, the more likely it is that you're going to believe that it is from a legitimate source. And so just because they have that information in there, just because they know your name and a few other details about you, don't assume that that is in fact legit. They probably got all that information online.
I completely agree. And the amount of information they can piece together from you online, for example, if you have public social media that isn't private, that you don't need to have someone following you to be able to see your account, they could know who your friends are. So they could be like, your friend Jimmy has a secret about you. Send us money. I just mean there's so much publicly available information on you online. Don't get scared if sketchy looking numbers start texting you with private details. Don't divulge anything to them, even if it seems like they have something on you.
Yeah, go silent, stay below the radar. And in fact, for example, if it looks like it's coming, and it could look like it's from you, right? So I might get a message that says, hey, David is texting me, and it might look like it's coming from your number, when in fact they have simply spoofed your name, spoofed your number. So it is in fact not you. That's the moment when I bail out and I use another messaging app where we're also connected, and I ping you and go, hey, did you text me? Like, I think it's questionable. What's the deal? And of course you say, I never texted you at all. Oh, that's my signal. I know it's not real. Bail out. And so, I mean, we have to start. I know it seems very unfriendly, unhuman of all of us to be cynical at first blush, but that's the way we need to be. We have to be less trusting of the messages that we receive, because let's face it, no one's ever going to send us unsolicited messages for anything. That vector, unfortunately, too many people are falling victim because they're easily duped.
As I was going through headlines from the tech industry this week, I saw one that had the phrase horrific behavior in it. And of course, Carmi, I could not resist. There have been those that have tricked, and not even that difficult was it. That made no sense. It wasn't even that difficult to do this trick. They've tricked the chatbot Grok into saying wild things. As a Jew, they've been saying horrifically anti-Semitic things. On the one hand, it's like kind of funny, I guess, that chatbots can go off the rails, but also kind of worrisome, because at the hands of racists or people that would seek to actually do politically awful things, they can use these bots for that purpose. We're getting an apology from X about Grok's behavior. Walk me through what happened here.
Yeah, so I mean, this goes back quite a while. Grok, of course, is XAI, which is Elon Musk's AI company, and Grok is their large language model, is their platform and their chatbot, and for a while now, it's been known its guardrails are less evolved than other platforms. It's easier to dupe it into going off the rails, into becoming racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic,
and praise one certain World War II dictator who everybody does not love, I hope.
That's right, expressing support for Adolf Hitler. In fact, it called itself Mecha Hitler, and that term trended for a while.
Whoa.
So the problem here is it's a known issue. It keeps getting worse. The company keeps saying, oh, we're aware of it. We're going to do our best to address it. And it worsens. So the latest one is, and they've apologized again, and they've called it horrific behavior. What's jarring about it this time is not only did it go anti-Semitic, terribly so, is that in many cases, it did so even when it wasn't being prompted. So even if you weren't trying to get it to be anti-Semitic, let's say you wanted it to be, anti-Black Lives Matter or anti some other identifiable group, it would still it would sort of flip into anti-Semitic mode.
Oh, muzzle.
Exactly. And so that's the scary thing here, is that the architecture, the fundamental technology seems to, essentially bubble Jew hatred to the surface, even if that isn't the intention of the user. And that is scary because most of us know the difference, but there are enough of us who, use that as a validation for this kind of behavior. And unfortunately, it has become fuel on an anti-Semitic fire. We know the stats. As a Jew myself, I know this is scary. And it's scary for essentially all of us, and it just makes it easier. And the fact that this is a company that isn't being held accountable for it, they issue apology after apology, yet the behavior gets worse and worse, I think is deeply troubling. And it illustrates what is wrong with the AI economy as it stands, because we're trusting Elon Musk to do the right thing. I think our trust is a little misplaced.
A little guardrail goes a long way. As having a dark sense of humor on one hand, sometimes I find these things sickly funny, but on a whole, I'm just so horrified by it. And all these other AI companies don't struggle with this as much. Why Grok is the question, which we don't have time to answer because Carmi Levy, we are up. I appreciate you being here, Carmi. Thanks.
Appreciate being here as well. Thanks, David.
Carmi Levy is a tech expert. After the break, we'll have fun with abrupt signs that hit you like a ton of bricks that you're aging. Things like a phrase that comes out of your mouth, only to have you realize, wow, I'm getting older. If you've got any, give us a call. The number coming up right now. Signs you're getting older that catch you off guard, up next.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 50% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
The show that asks the questions other shows are afraid to ask. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Have you ever woken up after not a great night's sleep and then your whole body's sore? Well, that's what happened to me. My knees were swollen all day, but the thing I want to talk about is how I thought nothing of it and then realized waking up sore is a sign of aging. We all have these things that creep up on us that tell us, oh, we're getting older, and we didn't realize it until something arrives in our life that makes us realize, I'm aging. I'm here with comedian Natalie Norman, who is getting older like me. I guess like everyone. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I don't actually like to think I'm getting older. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't aged past the age of 22. However, I have signs that I have aged.
Well, we all have bodies.
Well, it's crazy to me that you ever have a good night of sleep.
You have to work on it, Natalie. That's something you need to put effort into to have.
It happens almost never for me. So when you were like, oh, you know, when you have a bad night of sleep, I was like, every night I wake up sore. This is old age. Even falling asleep is a punishment.
Everything's a punishment when you age. You know, I was having dinner with my girlfriend the other day, and we were talking about how we love the show Frasier. We watched the show Frasier, that 90s and early 2000s sitcom, to go to bed. And it's a great sitcom. And then I mentioned to Miranda that I remember watching the finale on TV. And she's like 7 years younger than me. She was like, what? You were old enough to be like a semi-adult? I was 18 when the finale ended.
Yeah.
She's like, you watched Frasier when it was airing? And I'm like, yeah, I watched it on network television. And she was like, you are so old. And that made me realize it locked it into place. I'm like, yep, I'm getting older. I'm not a young man anymore.
You should never bring up TV with young people.
They just think Frasier exists on like a streaming service, and that's what it is.
There's like celebrities I've brought up and they're like, who? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually a teen. I love TikTok. Like I have to reverse back. I can't give you a good example. Well, probably like Amanda Bynes. We know her. You know who Amanda Bynes is?
Yeah, Amanda Bynes. Of course I know. I don't know who that is.
Okay, she was, okay, well, you weren't a girl in the era of Amanda Bynes. She was like an actress who's now a mess on TikTok, but she was very iconic to girls my age. And if I bring her up, people are like, who are you talking about? And I know you don't know, but that also is because you're a boy.
True, but I was talking to a young person the other day who didn't realize that Justin Timberlake was in NSYNC. They thought that Justin Timberlake was just this solo artist. And I was like, what?
That's really upsetting. That's really upsetting on so many levels because Justin Timberlake is fun, but he's not anything without NSYNC.
Exactly. This young person never heard of NSYNC. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
Okay, well, you should have led with that.
Well, they knew some of the songs from like recognizing them when they're out at parties or clubs or bars or whatever, but they didn't even know that that was a band and they didn't even know that was the origin of Justin Timberlake. And it was just like, how could you not know that? And then I realized it's because I'm old.
I would like to say it's because they don't have any awareness of the past.
But isn't that what young people are? Like if we were talking, if we were talking to somebody who died like 100 years ago, they'd be like, you don't know about this talkie star from like the black and white movies, you know?
And I wouldn't say they were old. I would say, you know what? We just have different taste because I'm polite. But I got to tell you, I went for ice cream the other night. I went for ice cream with my friend. He is, I think, 9 years younger than me. And we walked into the place and I got a regular ice cream. Okay. Like I got like a cookie dough and I turned to him and he got a sorbet. And I looked at him and I go, you're younger than me. Why are you getting sorbet? What is wrong with you? Anyways, he's like, trust me, it's so good. So I have a bite of his stupid ass sorbet. Let me tell you, I was like, wow, this is what I said. I go, wow, this is so refreshing. And I was like, oh no, it's hit me. I no longer eat things for joy. I eat things for a purpose to make me feel better.
Similarly, like I call them old man foods, like olives and blue cheese and anchovies and like Worcester sauce and like all these things and artichokes, all these, although I hate artichokes, but all these things as a kid, you're like, ew, how can anyone ever eat that? When you start craving these foods that young people associate with old people, that's how you know. And I like all of those foods.
Like, no, well, I like all those foods too, but I've liked those for a while. The sorbet really hit me in my heart. It hit me in my heart because I was like, right, I should have sorbet. It's refreshing. It doesn't cause stomach issues. It has less sugar. These are things that I'm concerned about, and I'm concerned for myself. So now I'm just going to eat a bunch of actual ice cream, even though all I want in my heart is a sorbet.
Farmers markets, if they get you very excited, the idea of like getting your own ingredients to cook is like your exciting activity for the week. I feel like that's a sign of aging for me.
I'm going to disagree, because when I was in university, every Saturday I went to the farmer's market because it felt like a nice thing to do. I guess it felt like a nice thing to do because it felt very adult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now it feels like a schlep.
So my girlfriend's 7 years younger than me. Some of her coworkers are like several years younger than her. They're in their 20s.
That's disgusting.
Agreed. And we were hanging out at our place. Well, sort of. I was kind of half hanging out. She was hanging out with her friends. And Tina Turner's Private Dancer came on. You know that song? I'm your private dancer. It's a great track.
Yeah, it's a classic.
And I just turned to like this young person and I said, they don't make them like they used to, as if to say there is no artist like Tina Turner was now. And they just responded to me by saying, you're old.
I mean, that is the oldest sentence I've ever heard. They don't make them like they used to.
But am I right? Like who is a Tina Turner replacement? There is none. She stands alone.
This is where you're going to get me, because I'm a cool teen unlike you. Like, I think Sabrina Carpenter is iconic. Sure, she's not as vocally as talented.
But it's just a different plane of existence. Tina Turner stands on her own, and there's no one like her, and there never will be anyone like her. And her music and her sound was new and fresh, and she's a product of her era. So I would argue there can't be another Tina Turner.
I'm going to argue that you're older than me.
Even though we're the same age.
We're a few weeks apart. You're like significantly older than me, because I did bring up something that's popular on TikTok and you had no idea. You looked at me like I was crazy. This is what I'll say though. Though all these things make me feel old and I know I'm getting older, I am gripping onto youth like it's nobody's business.
Maybe this is a gendered thing, like men are more embraced as they age.
They're not embraced. I don't care. I don't want an old man.
I just mean like, men get more handsome as they age, or at least society treats them that way. I just feel like I'm kind of like happy with my age, and maybe it's a gendered thing. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not happy with my age. And in honesty, I believe this. I believe no one should be under 30 years old. That's illegal.
Okay.
That's illegal. And
throw me in jail.
And come to my comedy shows, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not happy about it.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
You should also not be over 45.
We're both 39, dude. Or are you at a point where you can't say your age?
I don't care about my age. Other people perceive it to be weird, but I actually don't. I don't want to be younger.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the 20s were rough, dude. They were rough.
Awful. People are like, 20s, go to hell. You don't understand. It's so bad.
They don't make them like they used to. Wow, that is a really old man thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also like make my friends check in with me, and I'm worried about everything. So I get it. Like, I always tell my boyfriend to call me wherever he goes, because God forbid something happens to him.
Okay, so you're starting to be like an overbearing mother.
No, I am an overbearing mother.
Is that a sign of age, though? I feel like you were an overbearing mother when you were in your single digits.
Not as much.
All right. Overbearing towards your friends, if you have kids, anything like that?
I don't care. It's just my boyfriend, to be honest. Maybe this is just a boyfriend thing.
I love Tina Turner. Now she's just top of mind. They don't make them like they used to. That's all I can resolve on. Any other things that you do that are a sign of getting older?
Yeah, sure. My body hurts all the time. I'm sweating all the time. I know you're cold all the time. It doesn't matter. I'm getting older.
You mentioned the cold thing, and I'll say it quickly. When I was a kid, I would open up my window in the winter to get my room to be minus a million so I could sleep. Now I need it to be like 22 Celsius, 75 Fahrenheit. Every year that goes by, I run colder, and I like it hotter in my house. And my parents are already in their like 80 Fahrenheit stage. They're in their like, they need to be in a sauna in order to sleep. I have a theory that as you get older, you like a hotter temperature.
I don't agree with that. You make me sick. Go live in a sauna.
I mean, that doesn't sound too bad to me. Natalie Norman, comedian. Find her online. Look her up at Stalking Natalie on social media. That's STALKING. Natalie, what a pleasure it was.
Thank you.
And it's a great pleasure to grow old with you as a friend.
Ew.
If Mondays feel awful to you or you get the scary Sundays, or is it Sunday scaries? You shouldn't feel too bad. Because for some people, Mondays are so dreadful, it makes them stressed and affects their health even after they've retired. Coming up next, we'll dive into the science behind Monday anxiety and why it could be quietly damaging your health.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Broadcasting from the neutral zone, where every perspective gets diplomatic immunity. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Case of the Mondays. Well, why do Mondays feel so heavy? And can hating Mondays actually harm your health? Well, new research says yes. You heard that right. We might be allergic to the beginning of the week. Our guest is a professor of medical sociology at the University of Hong Kong, whose latest study links Monday anxiety to long-term stress and heart risks in older adults, even after we retire. His name is Tarani Chandola. Tarani, thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
I love that you studied Mondays. Did that song, Manic Mondays, do you know the one I'm talking about? Did that ever come up in your research?
Quite a few songs, including that song and, Tell Me Why I Don't Like Mondays. Yeah.
What makes the first day of the week so biologically and physiologically unique in the way we view it, even for those who are retired?
Yeah. So for a very long time, people who work in hospitals, they've been noticing that they have a lot of admissions for cardiac events, heart attacks on Mondays, and compared to other days, and even taking into account like weekends are slow and people might be not so willing to come into the hospital over a weekend. Even taking into account that weekends are quite different from other days of the week, they really notice a spike of cardiac events on Mondays. And so for a very long time, people had been thinking, well, there is something quite uniquely stressful about Mondays that can be seen in the hospital records of these heart attacks. So I was trying to find out, well, is this really true, or is it just because people don't like going to hospitals over the weekends, or doctors don't like treating people over the weekends? So that was the main motivation of the study.
So how do you measure something like this? I read that you measured cortisol or stress hormone. How do you link that with people's views on the week and what day it is?
Yeah, so the cortisol is a classic stress hormone, and it's widely used in a lot of studies because it's quite stable. It's relatively easy to measure, unlike a lot of the other stress hormones, and it's quite easy to measure in large groups of people, in large population sizes. So what we did was to get people to fill in questionnaires on different days of the week, and then measure their cortisol levels, as they report how anxious or how unhappy they were feeling on different days of the week. And we noticed this big correlation between the levels of cortisol, the levels of the stress hormone, and people feeling very anxious on Mondays. And that's what this study is reporting.
So Monday anxiety, is it all related to its close friend, the Sunday scaries, which is like Sunday night, the worries for the week start to spike up into Monday?
Yes, it could be that. I mean, so cortisol has a very strong diurnal profile. So we know that over the day, when you get up, your cortisol levels do really spike up, and then it falls back down during the rest of the day until by evening, by the time we're going to bed, it's almost at negligible levels. So there's a very strong sort of up and down diurnal profile during the day. So what I was interested in was whether there was a weekly profile to that. So we do know that over the weekends, when people measure their cortisol on Saturdays and Sundays, their levels of cortisol are markedly lower than or on other days of the week. But what I wanted to see was, on the other days of the week, was Monday an outlier? And it pretty much was as well.
Now, this idea that people carry Monday anxiety into retirement is kind of wild to me. Does this suggest that we've internalized the weekly grind so deeply that even when our professional calendar is empty, we still fear them and we still stress about Mondays?
Yeah, so that was what I was quite surprised by. I thought that the older people got. So this was a bunch of fairly older adults, and from age 50 to 80 or so. So I thought, yeah, maybe the 50 to 60-year-olds will have, the typical Monday blues effect. But, amongst the 60 or 70-year-olds, I was expecting to see less of a Monday effect. But really, yeah, it was really pronounced amongst the older age groups, as well as, looking at people who had retired or stopped working. The Monday effect was also really pronounced amongst that group as well. So I was really surprised. And maybe it is a sort of, as you suggest, an internalization of these Monday blues over the life course, that people, it's not so easy to get rid of these signals that our bodies produce, that's conditioned on our feelings about Monday over a life course.
So you have these findings. Do you have any suggestions for people, maybe even like me, who do struggle with Mondays and who I notice my stress levels going up on Mondays? I know we have the findings, but are there practical things that individuals can do to maybe improve their health around that day of the week?
Sure, yeah. So I do a lot of work on work-related stress and how to reduce it. And by far the most effective ones are more individualized therapies, like, so people taking action to reduce their stress levels through, a lot of it is through exercise, physical activity, or meditation. The second line of attack is through changing what it is that's generating the stress. Usually, if it's work, then a lot of the time it can be changing the way when and how we do work. The timings of work can matter. Nowadays, a lot of European countries, and other organizations have gone to a 4-day working week. And so what I'm doing now is looking at to see whether moving to a 4-day working week has changed that Monday effect to some extent. Maybe Mondays are no longer quite so terrible if you're working 4 days a week rather than 5 or 6 days a week.
Now, back to the finding, this stress spike on Mondays, or stress hormone spike, does it happen for everyone across the board, or 99.9% of us? Or are there those among us who are kind of naturally immune to the Monday blues?
So that's a great question. So yes, it's not across the board. We notice it amongst the people who say they're feeling anxious on Mondays. So about 30% of people report Monday anxiety, but 70% of people, for them, Monday is just another day. They don't feel anxious on Monday. So that's good news in a sense. Most people don't feel anxious on Mondays, and it would be interesting to find out a bit more about these people. Most of the people who don't have these Monday blues and don't have these stress hormones that increase at the start of the week.
Now, your study looked at older folks, even folks who have been retired. Is there anything we can say about young people and how they're perceiving their stress as it comes to their work week?
Yeah. So I think from the other studies that have been done on younger people, say from age 20 onwards, I think we'd find pretty much similar results. That Monday stress is pretty much evident in the younger age groups. Definitely, reports of feeling stressed on Mondays is higher. It's higher Mondays in the younger age groups as well as the older age groups. So I think we pretty much find the same results amongst younger people as well.
Any other things that you're going to be researching in this area, whether it's Sunday scaries, manic Mondays, or anything to do with our weekly processing of stress?
Yeah, so I think what I'm really interested in is also how people are socially isolated or lonely. So these other sort of negative emotional feelings correspond to stress levels, and seeing how they interact over the day. So I'd be particularly interested in seeing whether loneliness is a feature of weekdays or weekends, and how that corresponds to people's levels of stress during the week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when I was younger, weekends were definitely correlated with more loneliness, not going to school and all. That could be an interesting thing to talk about at a later date. Well, Tarani, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you sharing your research with the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Tarani Chandola is a professor of medical sociology at the University of Hong Kong. That's a wrap on the show. Thanks for listening to it. We'll be back tomorrow night. And in case you haven't heard the good news, the last show is available as a podcast. That's right. Head to www.lastshow.pizza in your web browser. That's lastshow.pizza, not .com. And there you can find out details, including, and I'd like it if you did, how to subscribe. I'm David Cooper, and this is definitely not the first show. I promise.
Well, you've heard me on the radio and you've listened to my podcast. Well, now you can watch me on YouTube for thought-provoking conversation, fearless interviews that you won't get anywhere else. The Ben Mulroney Show every single day. So go to YouTube, subscribe to The Ben Mulroney Show, and never miss an episode.